I feel like everyone remembers where they were when Eternal Atake dropped. That's how good of a job Uzi did of hyping it up. I remember I was walking from my first period. I was in PE when it dropped, so I couldn't listen to my second period when I was a freshman in high school, and a ton of people were listening to the album. But Eternal Atake was being teased way before. Actually, it was first teased on July 16, 2018 on Twitter. So in this video, I'm gonna explain the lead up to Eternal Atake, the album itself, and how it's aged. So after he teased it on Twitter, he also teased the cover art, which was inspired by a cult where 39 people died. Yeah. He also changed his profile picture to Marshall Applewhite, the leader of that cult. But two of the surviving members of that cult did not take pleasure in Uzi's admiration of their cult leader and the cult. Not because of 39 people dying though, but because Uzi was infringing on their copyright, which they didn't like for some reason. After that, Uzi dropped New Paddock, which was a good song, and everyone was like, yo, they're starting to roll out for the album. And honestly, we should have known better because it was not going to drop for almost 2 years. Anyways, in a show in December of 2018, Uzi said that Eternal Atake would drop soon. Honestly, I feel like he was just lying. There was no way it was going to drop looking back. A month later, he took to Instagram and randomly announced that he would be retiring, claiming he deleted all his unreleased and just wanted to go back to 2014, where he could be normal again. I think if you go to his tagged pictures on Instagram, you'll still find it only goes up to 2015. I'm not sure if that's on purpose or not. The whole Uzi is retiring thing, I never really believed it. I think I was like 14, so yeah. I still have the common sense to think he's not actually gonna retire, you know, nose rings cost money. But a bunch of his delusional fans did, and I guess it had the effect he wanted. I remember some of my friends actually thought he was retiring. There was no way he was ever retiring, and it was pretty obviously a publicity stunt. I'm sure a lot of his younger fans fell for it though. He had been complaining about his record deal, which I recommend you watch this video if you want to know the full details of it. But DJ Drama and Don Cannon, who Uzi signed to, got Uzi a ridiculously good deal for a mainstream artist under Atlantic Records. So his deal wasn't the issue. He was really complaining about supposedly not being able to drop music when he wanted to because of Don Cannon and DJ Drama. Nav came to Uzi's defense, saying the reason that he couldn't have an Uzi feature on his album was because of DJ Drama, who wouldn't clear it. However, in March, DJ Drama said that Uzi had the label's blessing to drop whenever he wanted, so the whole thing was very confusing. And in the same month, Uzi signed a management deal under Roc Nation, Jay-Z's management, who represent a lot of big names. And then, I think all of his fans remember this, he dropped Free Uzi, one of the hardest Uzi songs in my opinion. The song was so good. It honestly ended up being better than a lot of the songs on Eternal Atake. But what this song kind of made me realize, and some of the other fans, is that all of these events were just publicity stunts and antics for Uzi to hype up his album. Because Free Uzi, the song that was supposed to be Uzi's song he put out in protest of Atlantic Records, was distributed by Atlantic Records and then taken down the next day as a leak from all streaming platforms, conveniently. But there were some genuine delays. For example, during all this time, songs were leaking every week. According to Oogie Mane, they'd make a song and it would just get leaked the same week. Some of them were coming from inside Uzi's camp, like the producer Forza. Some of them were coming from hackers, but there were a ton of leaks. My favorite leaks were 223, Doing the Most, Zoom, Myron, of course, Thailand. There were at least like 50 others that leaked during this time. But even though these caused delays, they inevitably just created more hype for the album because it made the expectations even higher. Songs like Of Course were really, really good. I remember there's this one guy I knew in 8th grade. So that was the year before the album dropped, and this guy kept telling me and everyone else that he had Eternal Atake, and we were like, yo bro, you don't have Eternal Atake. And finally I was like, alright, send me Eternal Atake bro. And it was a Google Drive of all those leaks and a random track list some fan page made on Instagram. Then things quieted down for a little and another song leaked. I remember I was playing Fortnite and some dude randomly sent this leak on Discord, and it was a really good song. That song turned out to be Sanguine Paradise, which to me was really the beginning of Eternal Atake's rollout. He dropped another song, That's a Rack, which was alright. But these songs didn't even make the cut for the album. They just stayed singles, which was cool. In the end, Uzi dropped Futsal Shuffle and That Way as a part of the rollout. That Way was an alright remake, but Futsal Shuffle was fire, and it definitely had its moment. But it was probably the only moment where Uzi failed in the rollout for Eternal Atake. The song was originally supposed to be a dance move. This was when TikTok was going crazy and labels wanted artists to do TikTok dances for their songs, and it was way too complicated for the average person. I wouldn't even dare to attempt it. I just tried, I couldn't do it. And for that reason, it didn't really become a popular dance on TikTok or the internet. And if he just made it something more simple, I'm sure it could have been. But it didn't really hurt him in the end. Anyways, Uzi went on to drop the track list, go on a Twitter spree. He dropped a trailer, the album cover, everything. And finally on March 6th of 2020, he dropped Eternal Atake, right before quarantine actually. I thought it was cool, but I actually suffered from the same thing that made everyone else call mid. I don't think mid was a term back then. I think it was just called trash or alright. And the reason for this was Eternal Atake had so much hype, it was literally impossible for Uzi to create a project that could satisfy it. No chance. So after the first listen, I just thought there were some cool songs and that was that. But this album, not only for me, but for pretty much everyone else other than the Uzi meat riders, got better over time. Like, I realized one day this album was actually really good. If you remember when this album dropped, on Twitter, everyone was calling it trash. Everyone was saying Eternal Atake wasn't all that. But Baby Pluto, Low Main, and Silly Watch were actually a crazy 3-track intro. I'm Sorry, Celebration Station, Venetia, Part 2 are all songs that I will still find myself coming back to occasionally. A week after that regular album dropped, Uzi dropped a deluxe named Eternal Atake Love vs. the World 2, a sequel to the original Love vs. the World. He actually asked fans which songs they wanted and dropped some of those snippets like Myron, Came This Way, and Moon Relate, which made the cut, as well as features from Chief Keef, 21 Savage, Future, Young Thug, Nav, and more. Eternal Atake went on to sell 311,000 units first week, which is massive, and it did it again the week after when he dropped the deluxe. So Uzi definitely had a moment. It proved everyone saying Uzi wasn't an artist with serious mainstream caliber wrong. A lot of people were doubting Uzi, and honestly, I was kind of one of them. I thought he would sell a lot, but I wasn't expecting 300k. Love is Rage 2 sold 135k, and what a lot of people underestimated, myself included, is how many fans Uzi had acquired since the release of that project, all the way to Eternal Atake. One thing this album didn't really have the luxury of was a tour or people being outside streaming the music to remember, or TikTok like Cardi had with Whole Lotta Red. As time went by, I started to like the album a lot more. I used to play basketball and listen to Eternal Atake, and some of the songs I didn't like at first began to grow on me. And yeah, some of them are still kind of mid. But at the end of the day, Eternal Atake is probably one of the only albums that has had such a crazy rollout on rap in the past 10 years. Not that I can remember anything before like 2016, other than Whole Lotta Red, which I might make a video on too. Let me know. Uzi and Cardi are some of the only artists that had the entirety of their fan bases made up of kids like me, which is also what made it special in my opinion, but let me know. I'm Rashad Fashir, and thanks for watching. See you next time.